Hi, welcome back to Educator.com's AP Music Theory course. Today's lesson is part writing first inversion triads. So the objectives for this lesson are, first we're going to learn how to integrate first inversion triads into the root position part writing exercises that we've been doing. And in the course of doing that, we're going to see some common patterns of how first inversion triads are used. And also, of course, we're going to see the common doublings for when we're working in this four-part voice leading texture. So first of all, let's look at a simple root position progression like we did in the previous lesson, and see how we can substitute some first inversion chords into it. So let's just take something simple in C major, like what if we just have some tonic harmony, some 1, moving to some subdominant harmony, and then of course moving through the dominant and back home to the tonic. So I'll just keep this with the bass line for now, so we can see that the bass line moves from 1 to 4 to 5 to 1, all in root position. And so one of the main uses of first inversion chords is to give more variety to the bass line. So we can rewrite this progression down here. And now, maybe instead of repeating this tonic chord the same way, I will make the second one first inversion chord, a 6 chord, and which happens to lead nicely to this F, the 4. And the other thing I can do, on subdominant bass note, when you have the 4th scale degree, of course, you can either use a 4 or now a 2-6, which gives a nice different character, the minor chord versus the major chord. And then maybe I want the 5 chord here, and then what about a 5-6? So I have now a half step in the bass between the second to the last and the last chord. So we can see here that what I've done is just substituted, remembering that first inversion chords are, of course, with the 3rd of the chord in the bass. So what I've done here is substituted the 2nd chord here for a first inversion, and here the same, and here the same. Now the only difference is that with the 4 chord I didn't change it to a 4-6, but what I did was kept the same bass note and changed the sonority above. So 4 and 2-6 are of course also interchangeable when we have this subdominant note in the bass. It's a good thing to keep in mind when you're harmonizing over bass lines. Okay, and now let's complete the upper voices of this exercise so we can see what sorts of doublings work out with these chords. So what if I start with a closed spacing here on this 1 chord? So you see I've doubled the root, of course, and then the other voices are all as compact as possible. And now moving to this next chord, actually I can just keep these voices all the same, and so what ends up happening is that the voice in the soprano has been doubled. So I've got 1 C now and 2 E's. And now, of course, we're moving to a 4 chord. So the first thing I need to do is be careful of parallels. So this E is moving to an F, so I don't want to move this E to an F. So let's move it down to a C. And then I need another F and an A, so I'll move the G to an F and the C to an A. And now we're keeping the same bass note and changing this to a 6 chord. So what's missing is a D now. So what I can do is keep over the common tones, the F and the A, and then move the C up to a D. And now we're moving from this 2-6 to a G major chord. So we can keep, let's see, we want to avoid any kind of parallels, so we want to be careful about this F. So we'll take this F down to D, and then we can move this A down to G to give us our doubled root, and then this D will move down to B. And now we're keeping the same chord, but we don't want to double, we don't want to just keep all these voices over to the next chord because we have the leading tone in the bass. So we want to be careful not to double that. So we'll keep this D and we'll keep this G, and the B will move up to a D. So again, like this first 6th chord, we're again doubling the note that's in the soprano here. And now we just want to complete our little cadence here. So we've got a C, so we can keep this common tone, G, and move this D up to E, and this D down to C. So basically this covers ways to double the 6th chord, what notes to double in these different contexts of moving from chord to chord.